Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center and I'm delighted to be joined with Alessia with her fantastic movie, Leaving the Factory. Let's take a look at the clip.
What do you think you're doing?
I need to go home.
You know the rules. You don't go home until you're finished.
It's late. I'll finish tomorrow.
You don't go home till you're done.
Leave her alone. I'll finish her work.
Next time your friend won't be here to help you.
Grazie, Marina.
Ci vediamo domani, riposa.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
We're so glad to have your film at New Filmmakers LA. Thank you for making such an important film as well. For those that haven't seen it, tell us the brief synopsis.
So Leaving the Factory, it's a story, it's a real story set in 1910 about a group of women that lead an uprising and it will eventually turn out in a nightmare.
It really is, and it's an unreal story and a very important story that unfortunately is resonant today of different things we're fighting today. Where did the inspiration come for you in deciding to turn this into a film?
So there's a lot of inspiration, there was a lot of thought. I first heard this story when I was in elementary school. Like my elementary school teacher, Paola, told me about this story every March 8th. This was like what she was narrating to us. But then growing up, I stopped hearing about it. And one day I was just hiking in the Hollywood Hills and I just thought about that again. You know, like the brain is kind of like weird. I don't know how or why, but I just thought of this story again and I was like, oh my God, let me make some researches about it. Let me just figure some stuff out more. And I realized that there was really not much around it. And seeing how like things are going like in the world, you know, like the issues that I'm talking about in my movie are issues that are still facing women. Women are still like underpaid and there is still labor law are not active in every country. So it was a very important story to kind of like reflect what was happened in the past and just also kind of an awakening for people to be like, hey, this is still happening and it was happening in the 1910. And in 1910, we justified it in a way that it was like, oh my God, of course it happened. It's 1910, but it's still happening and it's 2023. So it's kind of like one of those stories that that still resonates nowadays in a very scary way.
In a very scary way, yeah. And it's crazy that we're fighting battles today and that was 1910.
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed with just how you orchestrated this film. It was so wonderfully directed. You had such a great cast and you really just, I mean, from set to experience to just the heightened circumstances was just so hard to watch, but again, so important to watch. I didn't even know how you began making this film. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's insane. How did you go about bringing your cast together, firstly?
Oh, so the cast was a long casting process. So
big cast.
Yeah, it was a big cast. It's about 20 people. So one of my producer, Catherine, she's also an acting teacher at LMU. So she absolutely knew a lot of fabulous actors that she brought on the project and we auditioned them and everybody got through an audition. But obviously we started like very, very strong thanks to her. I didn't want it to have like people that could speak Italian like fluently to just say their own lines like fluently without having any accents. That was really important to me since like we're talking about Italian immigrants. So like are those people that would have an accent in English like I do, but not in Italian. And so that was really important for me. And it was also the hardest part to find kind of like Italians here in LA that could speak like fluently, but they were also fitting in the cast and all of that. So we went through a lot of like casting process for that as well. And then eventually we found the two Robertas.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was like love at first sight. Like when we started working together and I saw the chemistry between them, and like with Roberta Sparta, which is our Martina, like we were looking at each other and just understanding each other right away like that. Like we didn't need to talk. It was just like just the power of a sight, and we knew what we needed and we knew what we wanted. So that was like such a beautiful experience, especially for a one-time director like, you know, I am.
I don't believe this. Like, I can't believe you. I mean, it was pretty much like watching a big budget feature film. Like, you really gave us this kind of feature film feel in obviously under half an hour. And I was just so amazed with it. It's not easy with a cast of 20 people. Also, the incredible set that was, you worked with, which we'll get into. But like, this again is a very, very important story. And I'm glad that you found like people that could speak fluent Italian as well to keep the authenticity. But like, making this film as a director, something that's so heightened and literally life at stake kind of situations, how did you work with your cast like in that respect? Because there's a lot in this, a lot of emotion.
It is a lot of emotion. Like, thank God Santa Monica College did give me like 8 weeks to prepare.
Yeah.
So basically we were meeting weekly, we were having rehearsals. We started having rehearsals both on Zoom and in person, which it was like, we shot this movie at the end of 2021. So that was like when COVID was going a little bit down, but it was like speaking up again. So it was like one of those moments that you're like, I don't know if it's safe, but it is. But it was like a little, one of those moments that it was, everything was up in the air. So we did have both on Zoom and in-person rehearsals, and those really, really helped a lot. Like I love talking. I love like psychoanalyzing every single thing. So like it was a lot of talks that we had with my actors, and I did trust them a lot. So I left a lot of things for their own interpretation. So I wasn't going there and telling them, okay, here you're sad, but I was like opening a conversation, and then if that's where they felt that they wanted to go, like then we were going and exploring that way. But doing it in this way, I feel that opened up a lot of more creativity, and there was like a flow of ideas and a flow of like good intentions and positivity that it was happening, and that brought like so much color to the whole script, you know.
And well done on like, I mean, first it's set in 1910. It's, you know, a period piece. Like, how was the dynamic of creating that set for the right time, the costume, everything?
I'm glad you asked. That was like probably the biggest challenge, like shooting a period piece when it's like on a budget, because it was like, you know, an independent short film in the end. So we didn't have millions to do that. It was very, very challenging. Costume wise, it was really hard to find them. We couldn't find them, especially because the cast was so big. So even if we wanted to rent them, they didn't have enough for everybody.
Yeah.
And so at a certain point, I was talking on the phone with my mom, and I was like, Mom, I don't know what we're doing. Like, we can't find these costumes. Like, I wish I was in Italy. I was keep telling her, I wish I was in Italy, because I know that there are like so many theater companies that have those. And then my mom was like, wait, hold on a second. What if I'm sending it to you? And I was like, wait, can we really do that? And so like she talked to Alberto Zambelli, who now he has his own company, but he used to work for Dolce & Gabbana. He was one of the stylists there, and he was like, I absolutely love 1910. It's one of like my biggest inspiration. So let me design the costumes for you.
Oh, wow.
And so he designed all the costumes for me, and I was like, okay, now who can make them? And in my hometown, there is like this fashion company called Dixie. And so we reached out to them, and they were like, we would absolutely love to support you guys on this project.
My goodness.
And so they completely made the costumes and donated them.
Are you kidding? That's incredible.
Yeah, so that was incredible. So all
thanks
the
to your mom too,
yes,
right?
Yes, my mom was absolutely incredible. My mom and my dad like completely supporting me from obviously far away, which is like so loving. But everything, basically like all the costumes came up almost to be free,
Mm-hmm.
because like people really resonated with this story and really
Yeah.
wanted to be part of it, which
Yeah.
it also speaks of how still important this story is.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you made this story. I'm just so curious because this really is a very important story. It's part of history, and we wouldn't be where we are today without people fighting during that time, as sad as that situation was. How has the experience been for you? We certainly loved having it in New Filmmakers LA. We got a tremendous reaction from our audience. How has that experience, and how has the experience been for you journeying around with this film, and what's the reaction been like?
The reaction has honestly been amazing so far. Like, I was a little afraid, obviously, as a first-time director, to shoot something that was a period piece. I thought that I would have got a lot of criticism out of it. But it actually, like, the story really resonated with people.
Yeah.
I feel that, like, in the 1900s, there is so many things historically that happened that defined who we are as a society right now. And there is so many stories like this one that needs to be uncovered.
Yeah.
And I feel that, like, because of where we are right now with like all the feminist movements that are happening, and also like all the awareness that is happening in society right now, just like looking back and seeing that, like, and remembering all these women that like just fought for us for where we are. Yes, we are not where we need to be. We are not like there yet, but we need also to acknowledge and to celebrate how far we've come from those times to like now. You know, it's really important to just like remember that we need to celebrate every single win. And yes, it's not the end goal, and we are still have so much to move on, and to just like keep fighting and keep like achieving, but like we should still like celebrate those little wins, and
Absolutely.
don't forget about those.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just, I mean, you leave the film as honestly as it was, as the story was. I mean, you didn't give us a so-called Hollywood ending. You left us with the truth and what happened. And I couldn't stop thinking about, those women and what they suffered, but what they fought for and what they experienced. And so I'm just like, oh, thank you for bringing that story, because we can't forget where we've gone. We've still got a long way to go, but thank you for those, people that fought or tried to fight, and did a big fight. What's next for you?
Ooh, next, like, I kept myself very busy. My biggest project is a TV pilot, actually, that is going to be shooting this summer. And that's very exciting. It's the first episodic thing that I'm producing.
Excellent.
And I'm producing with like 4 of my best friends, and it's just like, it's just such a fun pilot. It's 60 pages, so it's gonna be like,
That's
it's gonna be
cool.
a long one, a very important one for me, and I'm very excited for like the whole process. We are in pre-production right now.
Well, can't wait for your next journey with this, and we're all ready for it as well. Having made your first film, for anyone out there that wants to make their first film, do you have any advice for looking back on it?
Yeah, I would say just believe in yourself. I feel like for this movie, I knew my story inside out, and I knew what the things were important for me, and I just fought for those things. Like, obviously, when you're working with a big crew, there is always people that are gonna try to give you suggestions and trying to change like some things, and it's very important that you know where you're standing, because like sometimes those are the best ideas, and we have a lot of them integrated in the movie, but sometimes you just really need to know what you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's really, really important, and just believe in yourself and believe in your story. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being part of the New Filmmakers LA family. We are so happy that you brought your film to us, and we're looking forward to continue to support you on your journey. So thank you very much, Alessia.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Alessia, everybody.